Can we start? Okay. So, first of all, nice to meet you all. I am Dudus from Hungary. I've been cosplaying since 2006, but in the first 4 years, my costumes were made by me. So I consider my start as 2010. I've been cross-playing since the beginning, so I have like one female character that's basically forgotten, and it's better that way. So basically, I think most of you know what cross-playing is. It means you are a gender and you're cosplaying someone from the opposite gender. So guys cosplaying girls, girls cosplaying guys, without changing the gender at all. Sometimes when you crossplay, or even when you are men and you can grow beards, sometimes you encounter characters where you need facial hair. Obviously, the ladies can't really grow a beard, or even the men sometimes can grow beard monsters, like for example some of those animated characters. But there are several techniques when you can achieve similar look or close to realistic looks, and this is what I will talk about today. First of all, excuse me if I stumble up with my English. It's not my mother tongue, so unfortunately I can't really speak that fluently, but I will do my best. Please forgive my mistakes. First of all, let's see what we can start with. Basically, we have two techniques, or rather, I know two techniques and I use two techniques. The first one is the most realistic one, and it's used by makeup artists at movie sets because it's the most realistic, and it is laying hair by hand. That basically means you took whatever hair material and stick it on your face. So it's basically simple, but you have to build it up, layer it, and style it. It's not that difficult, it's more like making it realistic that it's the difficult part. And you have pre-made beards and mustaches. There are several techniques about that. That means when you have a pre-made beard and you can use it over and over again. Laying hair by hand is obviously a technique that can not be used again. So if you stick a hair on your face, you can't use that anymore. So that's a disadvantage of that technique, but basically it's not that much of a waste. Let me show you examples for the hair laying thing. I think my pictures got lost in the slides. I don't know what happened, because that wasn't supposed to be in the next one. Okay, let me just try to look for them. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think it can display my picture slides. That's weird. Okay, so I will try to explain what I was talking about. So, laying hair by hand can be used these types of things. Basically, wig hair is good when you have a wig for your character and you really want to have matching facial hair for it. There is also krefu, which comes in braids. It can be real human hair, yak hair, or completely synthetic. That is what mostly used for realistic hair. And basically, human hair or yak hair is used by makeup artists for movie sets. These are very expensive, but of course it's realistic. And the krefu, the synthetic krefu, is the cheaper one, and it comes with various colors. You can find crazy colors like pink and blue and for example, purple, which is not basically a natural hair color, but you can find a lot of blondes, browns, blacks even, or gray. Felt wool is the cheap way of crepe wool. Felt wool is the one you use for felting, obviously. It has a softer texture, but it can be used just as much as crepe wool. Obviously, it's a bit more fake looking because it's very soft. Real beard has a very unique texture. It's a bit wiry. So the softer you go, the less realistic it looks. And of course, I wear an example for that is yarn. Yarn is yarn is what you use for knitting, basically. So no secrets about that. But you have to work with the yarn. So obviously, you can't use it as it is. You have to separate the yarn with a pet brush or anything that has strong metal teeth. I basically use a pet brush. I have like 5 at home, and none of them are used for cats or dogs. So yarn is good because it's cheap. It's very easily, you can buy it very easily anywhere. Basically, you go to craft stores or fabric stores and they have yarn with a wider range of colors. It has the disadvantage of the most work. You have to prepare it, obviously. I will talk about this later, but I don't know if the pictures got lost, then I can really present the techniques. Pre-made beards and mustaches, basically, let's talk about that a bit. Pre-made mustaches need a base, where you put hair or yarn or whatever material you want to substitute hair with. I usually use, for this yarn beard, I basically use fabric, which is 2 layers sewn together. And you have to cut horizontal lines on the textile, on the fabric, and you have to stick the yarn under that, so it won't show, so the edges won't show. Basically, the other is the most known. It's the lace beards or lace mustaches. Those are used for professional purposes too. You can buy mustache lace or just simple big lace, and you can use that. Basically, the best technique for that is wig ventilating, which is a very patience required technique. Yeah, and you need a lot of materials for that. For example, a ventilating needle, which looks like a crochet hook, but it has another hook at the end of the needle, and you can catch the hair with it. It comes in various sizes, for example, 1, 2, 3, and it basically means how much hair you can hold up with the needle. So if it's a size 1 needle, you can easily pick up 1 piece of hair with it. The 2, 2, 3, 3. And I think the 3 is the biggest. I have a number 2 at home, but if I'm very technical, I can pick up 3 without a problem. So, but it's a very, very, very nerve-wracking thing to do. I don't know if anyone used wig ventilating technique before. It's basically what you use for lace front wigs to make it look like the hair is growing out of your skin. Basically, you tie the hair onto a lace and you stick it onto your skin. That way, it looks like it's coming out of your head, basically. That's the same with beard. it has a disadvantage that if you go close, the lace will be a bit visible every time, because you can't really blend it with your skin. It has to be on top on your skin. The wig hair is basically used for that technique because it easily could be tied. The other three, I mean the crepe wool, the felt wool, and the yarn is basically too short for that, and the felt wool and crepe wool is too fragile, so it's easily could be torn, so it's not the good technique for wig ventilating. Yarn is a strong material, but you have to use 100% acrylic yarn, because wool yarn is, once again, easily could be torn. So this is 100% acrylic, and it's pretty durable, as you can see. You lose a lot of yarn if you use these techniques, but once again, it's cheap. I don't know which is the next slide. Oh, pictures. Found it. So these are two examples of hand-laid hair. Basically, the left one is felt wool. I don't know if it's not that visible, but it looks very soft. It doesn't look that wiry as a beard should be, but it's okay in my opinion. The other one is used wig hair for that, because it had to match the wig, obviously. You can try to find crepe wool or felt wool in the wig color, because the funny thing is, hair and beard on a real person will never match. They are different colors. If either darker or lighter the beard than the hair, usually. So it doesn't matter if you have a few shades darker or lighter color. I used it before, and it's not that bothering, actually. But if you want a perfect match, you use wig hair from your wig, or just order wefts, because you can basically order wefts now without ordering the full wig. Next is the pre-made facial hair. Yes, as you can see, I used these more before, because these are big beards, and this is a fine example of how to use these techniques. If you need a very light facial hair, you can use hand laying, because it's more realistic and it's not that hard to do. But if you need these beard monsters, for example, the bottom two are the biggest beards I ever made, worn. Yeah. Obviously the first one is what you see on me now, and it's yarn. Actually, 3 out of the 4 are yarn. The Ice King is wig hair. That's actually a complete, that's a full wig on my chin. So this is how, it was easy because, you know, white is easily found on the internet, so you just order 2 wigs. One is on top of the head, one is the bottom. So, yeah, you can combine the 2 techniques, obviously, because the yarn hair and these pre-made beards will always look a bit fake. It's obviously a bit too soft, too bushy, so you can, if you want to blend the edge into your skin, you can use like loose yarn, or even I'm sorry, or even the crepe wool to hide the edges, because obviously it has an edge here. If you're lazy like me, sometimes it goes by like this. So the next one, oh, did I move these? I found the pictures? Great. So basically you can see the two techniques here, side by side. The left one is yarn and fabric. The right one is wig hair, and that's not lace, that's tulle. Tulle? The one you use for underskirts. When you learn to ventilate a wig, I suggest you go for the tulle first because it has bigger holes and you can learn easily how to slide the needle under it because it's really technical. Yeah, oh, thank God. Okay, so this is how you work with yarn actually. It's described on the pictures. You can make several loops with the yarn, like in the first picture. You have to tie one end, just one end. And it's very, very important that the knot should be on the end of the whole thing because it holds the yarn together. And you have to cut the other ends loose so you don't have any loops or hooks. And then you have to brush. It's not easy. You have to really go for it because the yarn is twisted very tightly. So you have to obviously start at the end and work your way up to the knot. Don't cut the knot off because that's what holds the thing together. Only one technique requires removing the knot, and it will be the other picture after this, but let's go to the fourth picture. That's what the yarn piece will look like after brushing. It will have waves and curls because it was obviously twisted, so it's not straight. But if you want to use wavy yarn, you can leave it as that, but if you need straight pieces of hair, you can use hair straightener on it actually. I don't know about metal straighteners, I use ceramic ones. You can actually see that on the picture. Never use for my hair. I mean, the real hair. Yeah, so obviously, the last picture is assembling the beard. You have to do a lot of pieces with this because you have to build up the whole beard. The advantage of it that it's cheap because yarn, even if it's a big piece or a small piece, it's relatively cheap everywhere, I know. But you need to work a lot with this. But this is the result. If you think it's worth it, you can use this technique. It's not the most quick or the most realistic one, but if you need very big beards, I would recommend using this because it's not heavy, and when you use big beards, it tends to get heavy, obviously. For example, I will show the picture later. The Stoic costume I have from How to Train Your Dragon, that beard, just the beard, weighs 2 pounds. So yeah, it's really heavy. And if I were to use, for example, hair for it, big hair, it would be, I think, approximately twice as heavy. Because hair is heavier than this yarn. It's just my experience. So if you make a very, very big beard, you have to consider the weight too, because you don't want to go like this. It happens to me when I wear Stoic. I tend to bend a bit in the front. So yeah, be careful with that. Okay, so the only time when you remove the knot from the yarn is when you make wefts. Yes, you can make wefts with yarn. Basically, you can just cut off the yarn, separate the pieces, and I used the masking tape. On the fourth picture you can see it. So the edge shows, but the rest is covered. You have to secure this because it moves around. And on the fifth picture you can see wood glue. That's wood glue. I smudged on some wood glue, let it dry. It holds the piece together very well, but it's still very tearable. Unfortunately, it's not durable, so you have to be careful with that. And for what I experienced, it can be sewn. You have to glue it. If you use it for a week, for example, you have to use glue, because if you pierce it with a needle or pull it too much, it will obviously tear. So this is like how you could make a weft out of yarn, and it's not just used for beards or hair. For example, if you have a prop that has a furry edge, you can use this. It's very convenient to use. You don't have to buy fur for that. Just an advice. Okay, yeah. So this is basically what I use yarn for. I can't knit, so I have to use it for another thing. On the left you can see my full Stoic setup. Wig, mustache and beard all together. Everything is made from yarn. So you can try to guess how many balls of yarn I used for that. Anyone care to guess? How much yarn is in it?
10?
Almost. 15, yes. So, you can see on the left side, that's 15 balls of yarn. It took me at least 2 months to complete from start to finish. And I just discovered this year that I can even make yarn feathers. Obviously, these are not the raven feather that is super straight and not so fluffy. Ostrich feather can be done with it, or any kind of fluffy feather. Obviously, it won't look like a real feather, but I think it's a pretty good substitute. And you can get it in any color. For example, the bottom feathers are supposed to represent a tree, so that's why they are green and orange, because it's a tangerine tree. It's for my one-piece costume later on this year. So basically, when you want to make a yarn feather, it's pretty much the same, except you have to lay down masking tape and like put the yarn pieces over each other one by one. And when you are done with it, you sew it through in the middle several times. Actually, I don't know how visible it is. This is where it's sewn. That's actually a thread there. So you have to, I think I went through on it with straight stitches twice, back and forth, and I used very, very fine zigzag stitches, so the yarn wouldn't move sideways, and after that I started brushing. So it's a nice technique if you want to have those big, very, very unrealistic feathers. For example, I think someone asked me how to do it for League of Legends Misfortune skin, which is a pirate skin, and he has very large feathers. So basically you can use it for these types. And the next thing is attaching these beads, because if it's heavy, you can't glue it on your face. The glue just won't stand it. We have very, very good adhesives for skin, but if it's a very, very heavy thing, you might not want to use glue. This is an example of how to attach a beard on your head. It has some disadvantages. For example, if you don't use a wig, it's very visible. So usually I use this elastic band technique when I can hide it. For example, now I guess it's just visible from behind. Basically, it's two elastic bands. One goes behind your head and one goes over it, and that's pretty much secures the whole beard. As you can see, it holds up pretty well. Like, it stays in place, but I have to put a wig over it to hide the elastic bands. So if you don't use a wig, it's very heavy it's very hard to actually hide. I don't know how. Actually, I only ever use this for my large beards because I always had a wig with them or some kind of headgear where you can hide it. I still have to work out a technique when I don't have a wig. So for now, that's it. It's basically a glue-less attaching method. And let's talk a bit about adhesives used. I don't know, a lot of people know these kinds of adhesives because most of them work with it. I don't know if you know any of these. Basically, the most common is spirit gum. That's widely known. It's very cheap. It's easily orderable, so it's very convenient and it works well if you know how to use it. I heard very many people use it like they just apply the glue and attach whatever. No, that's not how it works. You have to wait until it dries a bit, until it becomes tacky. And then you have to stick whatever you want on your face. But there is a side effect of spirit gum. It may cause irritation. It's resin-based, so it can trigger an allergic reaction. So, but we can say that all of these glues and adhesives needs testing first. So it's your skin. So don't be irresponsible with it. Make a test. Every time you use these, you have to make a test so you won't be sick later. I didn't have any reaction to spirit gum before, unless, I mean, sometimes it itches, but that might be sweat. Yeah, let's just say there is no adhesive that can withstand sweating, because that is not skin friendly. Your skin has to be protected, and if you sweat, it has to come off. It will dissolve the glue after a while. Don't use anything that they say can withstand sweating, because that's not true. Or is it's very bad for your skin. The second one is Prosade. Prosade basically used by special effect makeup artists for prosthetic makeup. It best works when applied like contact glue. You put a layer on your skin, you put a layer on whatever you want to stick on your face. You have to wait until it becomes transparent, and then you can glue it on your face, or wherever, on your hand, on your legs, wherever. So it's water-based, so it should be safe. This is the adhesive most people use in the makeup industry because it's not dangerous. It's not triggering any kind of allergic reaction, and it's pretty affordable. It's not that expensive, so sometimes it's wise if you apply more layers because it's stronger that way. But you can use it in just one layer. it works very good. Telesis is the third one, and I haven't used that, but I always include it in my presentations because it's another adhesive. It's silicone based. Actually, this is the makeup artist's favorite because it holds very well, and it's a great product, but it's terribly expensive, and I mean it. Last time I checked, I don't know the measurements in the UK. We use different types in Hungary. We use milliliters. I don't know if you know how much is that. So, for example, this kind of, like half of this bottle costs $80. Yes. So it's very expensive. I was like, okay, spirit gum is good for me. But if you can afford it or want to use it, you can buy it. But that is also, it could trigger a reaction in an allergic reaction since it's silicone based. I guess it's the end of the slides, hopefully. I don't know if it's being mixed, I don't know. So basically that was all I could say shortly about the beards, or if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I don't know if I left, I think I haven't left anything out, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Anyway, thank you for listening. Any questions? Who wants to go first?
I was just wondering, like, what do you find the best way to keep your yarn beards clean?
They can be washed like regular clothing. I don't put this in the washing machine. But you can, I basically use alcohol to remove the glue from it. Obviously there is glue on the other side when it touches the skin. And sometimes I have to make a new mustache or a new beard because after a while it becomes a bit too tacky or too gross. But basically I use soap and water and just wash it by hand. So it could be cleaned. Yes? Yes?
Do you use hairspray to sort of get the shape of your beard?
Yes, if you need it to have a certain shape, you can use any kind of hairspray. It works like hair basically, but yarn has a bad habit of tangling, so you can just try to keep it in one shape. Usually, yeah. Basically, if you want to have like a very specific shape, for example, you want to have a curl in it or something, you can use the got2b hairspray or some kind of strong hairspray that stays. Basically, it works just like hair. You can style it like a wig. Yeah. Next. Any more questions? Yes?
So that's styling level, does that go for if you want to put plaits or beads or anything in it as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do anything. Oh, I forgot one tiny detail. When you use yarn, you have a limit of length because I guess the maximum would be, I don't know how much is that in inches, like this big. This is the maximum I could ever achieve with yarn, because when you brush it, it will tear. So unfortunately you will use half of your yarn during the process. If you want to go longer than that, you have to be very careful not to tear the yarn. So basically, if you are fine with these shorter ones, basically, yeah, you can use beads or you can even braid it. I mean, if it's within the length. you want. Basically, yes. Any more questions? Yes?
So you use the same technique on the wool here and on your hat?
No, that's actually fake fur. I'm not that masochist. Unfortunately, that is actually fake fur. I wouldn't recommend it for using on garments. Like if you want to have, someone asked me, they wanted to use these techniques for, how do you call it, the goat man in Hercules, the Disney, right? Yeah, so the pants. They wanted to use it for the pants, and I did my best to talk them out of it. Because the very big advice I have, you need your sanity later. If you remember the Stoic beards, it took me 2 months, and that's just this big. Like, imagine how much do you need for pants. That's not a good technique. If you want to, if it's a very, very large amount of fake fur, I would recommend buying the actual fur, because it's just too much work. It's too much work, and it wouldn't be cheaper, because you need a lot of yarn for that. There is a limit when it's a good decision to actually buy the fur or buy the beard or buy anything else. But if you are a masochist like me, I make everything myself except this. Once again, referring to my Stoic costume, he has a full fur cape on his back and fur all over his body. That was fake fur all over. So after the wig and the beard, I was just not feeling the willpower to make it. So yeah, basically, if you go too big, I would recommend using actual fake fur. Yes? Any more questions? Yes?
Is there a way to, like say, I see obviously like beards are made of kind of the little gatherings of yarn. Like say one of them was to come out, is there a way to like repair it, or do you have to just start from scratch and do it again?
So if one of them comes undone,
yeah, if
you mean?
If you lose it.
That never happened to me before. But you can always, if you know where it came off from, you can just basically redo it and stick it back. Because I don't know if it was obvious that I meant, I will show you the funny side of this beard. If you lift it, it looks like this. You can see where I cut the fabric and put the yarn under. But if it's done well, you don't see at all, unless I lift it. I wouldn't recommend doing the back side because it just becomes like this. No, it's the unsightly side. So, and basically it's not visible, so, and you don't need extra heat coming from that, so basically you can just leave the bottom part plain. But yeah, if any piece comes undone, I just repair it. For example, it's different with mustaches because it needs to be put together in a certain way. And when something comes undone, you just can't reattach it. Sometimes you have to make it all over again. But it's a small piece, so it's not that much work. Yes?
Have you ever used latex for building a beard? Like when you put the hair on top of latex for re-wearing it?
I tried, but I didn't find it good enough for my taste because I couldn't blend the latex, and it was very visible.
And it's a horrible afternoon as well, with it all on your face.
I mean, I wore latex from here on up.
Yes.
All day.
Oh.
If you remember my ice king costume, from here to the top of my head, that was all latex. And from the nose to the chin, it was the beard. So it's very interesting to wear that costume, I might say. Yeah, that was just a soft word for it. But yeah, I'm very interested in prosthetic makeup, actually. I don't mind wearing these. Like, I'm practically used to being uncomfortable in my costumes. Like now, I'm sweating like there's no tomorrow. But that's a side effect of my costumes, because all of them are very, very layered. So yeah, but latex, it's very hard to keep it on your face.
Yes.
Because obviously, once again, if you sweat, the glue cannot withstand it, and you have to glue it very, very well if you don't want it to lift up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my experience with the latex beards. I would recommend lace beards. That's a more comfortable version, because the lace lets your skin breathe, actually. So it could be less sweating solution, basically. But I don't use latex for facial hair. I made latex ears for my Stoic costumes, because my ears, as you can see, they are here. But if you look at me in the front, it's not visible. I have like very flat ears. Thank God for that. But if you know, Stoic has these Dumbo ears. And when I made it for the Euro Cosplay competition, I was like, okay, but that doesn't look like that. So yeah, I made latex ears for Stoic that's actually built in the hair. Maybe it's visible if I go back. Yeah, there they are. They are there. See? So yeah, this is basically how I use latex before basic prosthetic work, but not for beards. Ooh, yes?
I've just been like looking at it and being intrigued. Do you actually attach the moustache to your beard?
No, it's a separate piece. So the beard is always separated from the mustache, because if you make it one piece, it won't let your face move, actually. So you have to, this area around your mouth is where you move the most. The facial mimics and like facial expressions are there. So if you glue it down, you can't smile at all, or you can't do anything. You can't even talk, or one movement will rip the whole thing off. So I would always recommend that doing the mustache and the beard separately. It's just for practical reasons. Questions? We ran out. Oh, yes.
Do you have any tips to stop things like coming off sperm gum, like when you're sweating and you've got things?
To make it hold longer?
Yeah.
All of these glues have special usages. Like, you have to know how to use it. Like what I mentioned, most people I'll talk with use the spirit gum like they smear it on and they immediately stack whatever they want on it. You have to make it tacky first. If you make it tackier, it will hold better. But if you don't do this, it will come undone sooner, because it doesn't have that tackiness. You will recognize, try it. If you have spirit gum, just put it on your hand and just tap it. And you can feel it getting tackier and more stronger. that's what happens. So that's why you have to use spirit gum this way, or you have to wait until it dries a bit and becomes tacky by itself. It wouldn't make it less durable if you tap it. So it doesn't remove it, so you can just, I use this technique. So obviously if you sweat and talk a lot, I just mentioned that this area is what moves a lot. When you talk, you smile, you eat, you drink. Obviously you will have to reattach. I will have to, after this panel, I will have to reattach this because I can feel it coming undone. But there's nothing you can do about sweating because it's just natural. It's not good for your skin if you forcefully keep something on your face with glue that's not for your skin. So it's just how it works. Basically, in movie sets, they keep reattaching things all 5 seconds. You just don't see it. I made the research. They have the same problems. They are just humans like us. So obviously, they have the same problems. They sweat. Their makeup got ruined. So yeah, obviously that's why the makeup artists are there all day, and every 10 seconds they reattach something on their makeup. That's just how it works. Anything else? Okay. Then I guess we are done with the panel. I don't know what time it is now.
10
Can
to
you help me?
10 to
Oh,
10 to 11.
do I still have time? I don't know. My only watch is on my phone, and I put it away because pretty good. Okay. So once again, thank you very much for coming. Hope you got some useful information from me, but if you have any questions regarding this topic, and you can see me going around in the event, you can just come and say whatever you want or ask me. I am not the type that won't answer unless it's in official measurements. So yeah, basically I'm free to approach. Okay, thank you so much, and have a nice weekend, guys.